The tragic case of Victoria Martens, a story of betrayal, horror, and systemic failure. The murder of 10-year-old Victoria Martens remains one of the most horrifying and heartbreaking criminal cases in recent U.S. history. The brutal nature of the crime, the shocking involvement of her own mother, Michelle Martens, and the subsequent legal proceedings have left a lasting impact on both the community of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the broader discussion about child protection laws. This case is a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by children in unsafe environments and exposes the failures of a system meant to protect them. Victoria Martens was born on August 23, 2006 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Described as a bright and joyful child, she embodied innocence and hope. In her short life, she was known for her warm personality, love for school, and excitement for life. She had just celebrated her 10th birthday when her life was tragically cut short. Her glittering future came to an abrupt and horrifying end, leaving friends, family, and the community grappling with the unimaginable. As memorials grew in her honor, Victoria became a heartbreaking symbol of innocence, lost to the nightmarish failures that allowed her to remain in harm's way. On August 24, 2016, police responded to a frantic call at an apartment complex on Candelaria Road in Albuquerque. Michelle Martens, together with her boyfriend Fabian Gonzalez, had been knocking on a neighbor's door, claiming they were attacked. What awaited the officers inside the apartment was a scene of unthinkable horror. In the bathroom, police discovered the dismembered and partially burned body of Victoria Martens. Her remains were wrapped in a smoldering blanket within a bathtub. Investigators pieced together a heinous story. Victoria had been strangled, stabbed, dismembered, and sexually assaulted. Even the most seasoned officers broke down in the face of this unspeakable crime. This gruesome discovery shattered the community and galvanized renewed calls for accountability and child safety protocols. The shell-shocked community soon learned the case was cloaked in deception. Michelle Martens initially confessed to allowing men to sexually assault her daughter in exchange for money. Her bombshell admission whipped up national outrage. She alleged that Gonzalez and his cousin Jessica Kelly had colluded in the events leading to her daughter's murder. But as detectives dug deeper, doubts emerged over the veracity of Michelle's claims. Her confession appeared riddled with inconsistencies. Forensic evidence conflicted with her account. Over time, investigators questioned whether Michelle had been coerced or manipulated into providing false statements. This turn created both gaps in understanding what truly transpired on August 24th and frustrations over delays in pursuing justice. Jessica Kelly, freshly released from prison just days before the crime, was a chaotic figure central to the case. Her history with substance abuse and violent behavior painted a picture of volatility. She later admitted to being under the influence of methamphetamine, claiming amnesia about much of the night. Despite her inability to recollect key events, statements and evidence pointed to her participation in the horror inflicted upon Victoria. Fabian Gonzalez occupied another dark layer in this tragic tapestry. Allegations arose linking him to facilitating Victoria's abuse. The initially convoluted story included claims that he enabled access to men who harmed Victoria in his presence. Piecing together Gonzalez's exact involvement remained contentious throughout court hearings, especially amid findings that prior abuse occurred before her killing. This revelation complicated the timeline surrounding the crimes and blurred the contours of guilt among the perpetrators. Equally devastating and perhaps enraging were systemic failures that enabled this tragedy. Michelle Martens had a documented pattern of exposing her daughter to unsafe environments. Authorities later discovered evidence of glaring red flags leading up to Victoria's murder, including Michelle's poor judgment in relationships and neglect warnings that seemingly went overlooked. Fabian Gonzalez's criminal history, including domestic violence, raised critical questions about how individuals with known records ended up in homes with vulnerable children. Jessica Kelly's extensive interactions with law enforcement and the justice system also pointed to lapses in effective rehabilitation and community supervision. Child Protective Services, CPS, local agencies, and judicial oversight became focal points of public scrutiny for their missed opportunities to intervene in what seemed preventable. What followed the discovery of Victoria's murder was a protracted and emotionally charged legal battle. 3 individuals faced the judicial system. Michelle Martens, Initially accused of participating in Victoria's abuse and murder, Michelle later claimed coercion during police interrogations. In the end, Michelle pleaded guilty to reckless child abuse resulting in death. In 2022, she was handed a 15-year sentence. This lenient punishment, especially juxtaposed against the magnitude of the crime, sparked public debates over judicial leniency in child-related crimes. Jessica Kelly. With mounting evidence depicting her active involvement in the tragedy, Kelly received the stiffest punishment among the culprits. Pleading no contest to child abuse resulting in death, she was sentenced to 44 years behind bars. Her sentence became an example of the court's relative firmness. Fabian Gonzalez. Assessed as a key facilitator rather than the direct murderer, Gonzalez steadfastly denied certain allegations. Nonetheless, in court, his culpability in endangering Victoria was substantiated. He was sentenced to 37 years for child abuse resulting in death. The trials and outcomes divided public opinion. Some interpreted the justice system's proceedings as satisfactory, while others agonized over whether any sentence could truly reflect the gravity of Victoria's lost life. The dark clouds surrounding Victoria's murder cast long-lasting shadows over Albuquerque. Candlelight vigils, prayer gatherings, and community memorials honored her memory and brought together grieving families. While mournful citizens tried processing the senselessness of the event, the chilling details made her case forever unforgettable. Community organizations seized Victoria's death as momentum for child advocacy reforms. Testimonies from advocates underscored gaps in local security measures. Critics called for restructuring CPS safeguards, mandatory immediate interventions on red-flagged cases, and measures ensuring quicker child relocations from abusive homes. Victoria's story became emblematic of urgent reforms needed within U.S. child protection agencies and legal structures. Her legacy influenced discussions that highlighted improvements within CPS protocols. Acknowledging the case's failings, lawmakers emphasized the need for early detection measures and more aggressive interventions to shield at-risk minors. Calls for better cross-agency collaborations also surfaced. Public vigilance. Child safety champions encouraged proactive behavior from neighbors, educators, and medical professionals. Alarmed communities demonstrated the value of vigilance. Contextualized sentencing in family death crimes. Victoria's legal proceedings added fodder to debates surrounding whether current judicial structures adequately evaluate culpability complexities in abuse-related deaths. National attention to these issues resulted in multiple legislature-sponsored motions pushing system revisions. However, critics remain watchful, demanding continuous vigilance regarding follow-through on promises. Decades after her passing, the heartbreaking narrative of a child exposed to violence under the perceived safety of a family roof continues to evoke grief and inspiration. Victoria's name now carries weight, imbued with tragic lessons but also layered in urgency to tackle systemic shortcomings. The tragic case of Victoria Martens reminds us of life's fragility and the importance of protecting the defenseless among us. Her murder was not only a catastrophic personal tragedy, but also a societal failing of trust, oversight, and accountability. Honoring her life means pushing harder for reforms to safeguard vulnerable children and ensure institutions meant to protect them are strengthened and empowered. Society owes it to Victoria not just to mourn her loss, but to use the scars left behind as an impetus for transformative change. By cultivating community awareness, empowering voices to report suspected harm, and supporting advocacy-led intervention, future lives can be shielded. May her memory serve as an eternal plea for vigilance, compassion, and unwavering commitment to ending such atrocities.